If you had lived 800 years ago, could you have built your own house without modern tools, without concrete, without electricity? And if we converted its cost into today's money, how much would it really cost? Let's find out by reconstructing a real medieval house from original architectural fragments that have survived for more than 800 years. Before we can calculate the cost, we first need to know exactly what we're building. This is not an imaginary medieval house. It is a reconstruction based on original architectural fragments that have survived for more than 8 centuries. Together, these fragments allow us to recreate what a merchant's house in medieval Wrocław may have looked like. Now the real work begins. We'll build this house the same way its owners once did, step by step, piece by piece. And when the last beam is in place, we'll calculate what it would cost to build it today. Every house begins with the land beneath it. Before construction could begin, a building plot had to be found. In the 13th century, space inside the walls of Wrocław was limited. As the city grew, every available plot became increasingly valuable. The most desirable land lay close to the market square, where merchants lived and traded. Most plots were narrow along the street but extended deep into the block. This characteristic layout shaped the city's architecture for centuries. Once the plot had been secured, the real construction could finally begin. And the first step was the foundation. The foundation had to support the weight of the entire building and protect it from ground settlement. For that reason, builders used the strongest materials available in the surrounding area. Most commonly, these included large fieldstones, granite, and sandstone, laid with lime mortar, hidden beneath the ground. This stone framework determined the durability of the entire house. Once the foundation was complete, construction of the walls could begin. In the first half of the 13th century, wooden houses could still be found in Wrocław. But brick was becoming increasingly important. Lower Silesia was emerging as one of the leading centers of early brick Gothic architecture in Central Europe. Making bricks was a long and labor-intensive process. Clay was carefully cleaned, mixed with water, pressed into wooden molds, and left to dry. The dried bricks were then fired in specially built kilns, where intense heat transformed the soft clay into a strong and durable building material. Every brick was made by hand. As a result, even the bricks used in the same building varied slightly in size, shape, and color. Today, these subtle imperfections give medieval walls their distinctive character and timeless authenticity. The mortar that bonded the bricks together was also prepared by hand. It was made by mixing lime with sand and water. Properly prepared lime mortar not only held the masonry together but also allowed the walls to breathe, gradually increasing in strength over many years. Gradually, the lower structure of the merchant's house began to rise upon its stone foundation. Its walls could combine brick masonry with timber construction. While many architectural details depended on the period in which the house was built, the owner's wealth, and the intended use of its rooms, construction advanced slowly. Every stone and every brick had to be placed by hand, with the stability and alignment of the entire structure checked continuously. Yet the walls were only the outer shell of the building. To tie them together, divide the house into floors, and support the roof, the builders next needed a carefully engineered system of heavy timber beams and wooden floor structures. As the walls and timber frame gradually came together, the merchant's house slowly began to resemble the building its owner had once imagined. Yet the hardest work was still ahead. The roof had to protect the entire structure from rain, snow, and the harsh winters of Lower Silesia. Every roof beam was carefully measured, shaped, and fitted by hand. Heavy oak timbers were joined without modern metal fasteners, using precisely cut wooden joints secured with strong oak pegs. Once the roof frame was complete, carpenters covered it with wooden sheathing before laying thousands of overlapping ceramic roof tiles. Each tile had been shaped and fired individually, and no two were exactly alike. The weight of the roof itself became an important part of the building's engineering, helping stabilize the massive timber frame beneath it. Only after the house was fully protected from the weather could craftsmen begin finishing the interior. Only then did the merchant's original vision finally become reality.
as the unfinished structure took on the unmistakable form of a prosperous medieval home that would stand in Wrocław for generations. Its thick brick walls, massive oak beams, sturdy roof frame, and solid stone foundation had been built to withstand generations. But the most interesting part of the story was only just beginning. Behind every brick, every beam, and every stone stood an enormous investment of time, skill, and resources. Constructing a house like this required thousands of handmade bricks, dozens of cubic meters of oak timber, many tons of stone, lime, and sand. Yet building materials were only part of the total cost. The most valuable resource of all was human labor. Masons, carpenters, brickmakers, blacksmiths, carters, and many other skilled craftsmen worked on the project for months. Every stage demanded experience, patience, and countless hours of precise manual work. And every one of those hours had a price. But how much did it all actually cost? What did it really cost to build a merchant's house like this in 13th century Wrocław? And if we convert that amount into today's money, could you actually afford to build the same house today? Answering that question isn't as simple as it might seem. In 13th century Wrocław, almost all major transactions were made using silver coins, land, building materials, and the work of skilled craftsmen were all paid for in silver. So first, we'll estimate how much someone would have had to pay for a house like this in silver coins 800 years ago. Then we'll convert that amount into today's euros. Finally, we'll compare the result with the price of a modern home that someone of equivalent wealth and social status could afford today. Only then can we truly understand what owning a house like this meant in medieval Wrocław. Comparing historical prices suggests that building a house like this, together with the plot of land it stood on, would have cost the equivalent of about 25 kilograms of silver. At today's silver prices, that amount would be worth roughly €40. At first glance, that may not seem like a particularly large sum. But 800 years ago, 25 kilograms of silver represented an enormous fortune. For comparison, a skilled stonemason in Central Europe would have had to work for about 20 years to earn that amount. Only the wealthiest merchants could afford to build a house like this. For comparison, today a house like this would most likely be affordable only to someone among the wealthiest residents of their city, a successful entrepreneur, a business owner, or someone with a very high income. And perhaps that is the most surprising conclusion of our investigation. 800 years can separate people. Cities can disappear. Countries, currencies, and entire economies can change. But the desire to build a home, provide for your family, and leave something that will outlive you has remained exactly the same. Today, €40,000 wouldn't even be enough to buy a one-bedroom apartment in the center of Wrocław. In fact, it would only buy around 10 square meters of living space. Yet 800 years ago, according to historians' estimates, that same amount was enough to build a wealthy merchant's house together with its own plot of land in one of the largest trading cities of Central Europe. And perhaps that is the most remarkable result of our investigation. Sometimes a single number can reveal 800 years of history more clearly than dozens of ancient documents.